Quentin Grimes has had a fantastic start to the season for the 76ers. Had maybe one of the best games of his career in Sunday's win over the Nets and is lining up to earn himself some serious cash this offseason if he can keep it up. So got to give him his praise, as well as Kelly Oubre, who played well in that game against the Nets. Plus, Nick Nurse giving some updates after yesterday's win over Brooklyn on some of these injuries for Jared McCain, Paul George, and the weird elbow laceration for Dominick Barlow that has kept him out now for well over a week. So we're going to get into what Nick Nurse had to say about all those guys. But before we do, waking up on a Monday following that win, and look, it's only 6 games in, but Philadelphia is officially the number 1 seed out east, tied record-wise with the Bulls at 5-1, but they are pushed up over them on the standings on NBA.com after Sixers beat the Nets. Bulls lost to the Knicks. So here as we stand today, we're in November now. Sixers are the 1 seed out east. Can they keep it up all season? We will see. I want you to fill in the blank for me. Right now, the Sixers are the blank best team in the East. Are they the number 1 team out East, like the standings say? Second, third, fourth? Whatever you think, let me know down in the comment section. We can have a debate about it down there. So go ahead and let me know. And let's get to Quentin Grimes because, man, this game he had against Brooklyn, and he's been great all season long, right? But this game against the Nets, and I know it's the Nets, probably the worst team in the league, but regardless, 22 points, 13 assists, a career high for Quentin Grimes to go along with 6 rebounds, shooting the ball well from the field as he has all year. Grimes last year at the end of the season, right, had that scoring outburst and that scoring ability that we saw that we didn't know if it was going to translate into the season once everybody else on the team was back healthy. What we didn't know is that this playmaking that he's shown, not just in that game against the Nets, but all season long, he would take that leap, right, and be almost a point guard of sorts for this team. I've been so impressed. And yes, he had that weird sequence at the end of the Celtics game where he probably should have passed the ball to Maxey for the game-winning shot, kind of got scared of the double team that came at him. But outside of that one moment, he's been super clutch, making big-time shots. He's passing the ball as well as he ever has, running the offense, making plays for himself and others. He just continues to get better and better and better, even impacting the game more so than he was at the end of last season when he was putting up 40-point games, but they were losing. And it's been on both ends of the floor as well. We take a look at his on-off numbers. This compares how good the Sixers are when Grimes is on the floor compared to how they are when he is off the floor. And basically what these show, the Sixers are so much better with Grimes on the floor. Efficiency differential. This is how much they are outscoring teams per 100 possessions, according to cleaningtheglass.com. The Sixers, with Grimes on the floor, are outscoring teams by over 16 points per 100 possessions when he's out there. That is in the 83rd percentile of all players. 100th percentile is the best it gets. And then defensively, they're giving up 16 points less when Grimes is on the floor compared to when he is off. That is the 92nd percentile. So been great on both sides, but especially defensively, Philadelphia is way better when Grimes is out there compared to when he's not. And I think as good as he's been offensively, right, and with the scoring, with the playmaking, him attacking the basket, creating his own shots, getting a lot more open looks than he was last year because of all the talent that's now around him, he's been great on that side of the ball. But defensively is where he can really make his impact be felt for the Sixers team. Maxey and Edgecombe, they've been great. That backcourt, that three-headed monster has been tremendous, but neither of them are the level of defender that Grimes is, right? Maxey's made improvements, but he can only do so much. And Edgecombe has the tools, hasn't put it together yet. I'm sure he will one day. His defensive presence, though, for Quentin Grimes, especially those plays he had at the end of the Wizards game, he's won the Sixers games with his defense. And look, at this rate, if Grimes keeps playing like this, it's early in the season and, early in the year, that's what we do. We overreact to some things that we see. But look, we're now 6 games in. He looks comfortable out there. This is all coming, by the way, after that whole offseason contract drama, in which he didn't really get to practice with this team at all until right before the season started. Despite all that, he's been fantastic, and he'll be a free agent at the end of the year. Sixers will have his bird right, so they can pay him and go over the salary cap to pay him, but they didn't want to give him close to $20 million this offseason. I think he's going to command at least $20 million a year next offseason if he can keep playing like this. And again, he's doing all this coming off of the bench as well. And we'll take a look in a little bit at some NBA awards odds for the 76ers. Quentin Grimes in the running right now for Sixth Man of the Year. I think he should be up there near the top of the list. But you let me know, should Quentin Grimes be the favorite right now for Sixth Man of the Year the way he's playing on both sides of the ball? Just give me a yes, give me a no down in the comments. Got to give another shout out as well to Kelly Oubre because really everybody on the Sixers team has been tremendous to start the year. But what I've seen from Kelly Oubre, especially offensively for Oubre, it's almost like I'm watching a whole new player, right? And against Brooklyn, to put up nearly 30 points, 24 of these points of his 29 came in the first half. A lot of them in the first quarter when this was still a close game against Brooklyn. And again, to go along with it, some efficient shooting, 3-9 from 3, that's decent. You'll take that. He's shooting over 40% from 3 this year while playing good defense. If Oubre can maintain this level of play, right, and he's been aggressive on offense, he's been knocking down his open threes, which prior to this season, like first couple of his years in Philly and going back to the start of his NBA career, has not been a good three-point shooter. He's been knocking him down over 40%. I don't expect that to continue, but if it does, again, the way he plays defense, the way he can get to his little push shot inside the free throw line with that left hand seems to be automatic for him. It's just another reason this Sixers team can be even better than people expected. Oubre is having a career year in so many different statistical categories right now. And again, can he maintain this? That remains to be seen. But he's shooting almost 43% from 3 for a guy that's usually in the low 30s. That is ridiculous. Shooting almost 60% from mid-range. Again, little push shot he's got at the rim, shooting a career best 66.6%. All these numbers career best. Effective field goal percentage, the best of his career. That weighs threes more heavily than twos. And PSA, points per shot attempt. Basically, how efficient are you as a player? 1.3. That is a tremendous number. And again, the highest of his career. Similar to Grimes, who dealt with those contract drama situations in the offseason, I got to give a lot of credit to Kelly Oubre because plenty of trade rumors over the summer about moving on from Oubre. I was a person as well who talked about moving on from Oubre because of his offensive limitations. But he got a little bit frustrated, obviously, called out Sixers fans a little bit, but he's come out here. He's played the best ball of his career. Hopefully he can continue this and doesn't even have to shoot 42% from 3. If he can give you 37 from 3, good defense, and just play his role without overthinking and doing too much, which has been a problem for him in the past, man, he can be a really, really good starter for this team come playoff time. And I wouldn't want to move him at all like we talked about in the offseason. So both of those guys were tremendous all year and in the win against the Nets. Now coming up next, of course, talk about the Sixers, got to talk about injury updates. Nick Nurse giving some updates on Jared McCain, Paul George, Dominick Barlow, as we head into a pretty busy week for the Sixers. They have 4 games, 2 sets of back-to-backs, Tuesday, Wednesday, then Saturday, Sunday. Kind of a weird schedule for the NBA this week, but we'll get to all the latest there. Before we do, got to give a big shout out to today's sponsor, that is DraftKings. All your favorite NBA players are back, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is the place to bet on NBA stars this season. New customers, bet just $5 and get 3 months of NBA League Pass, plus score $300 if your bet wins, paid in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code SixersChat. That's code SixersChat. Bet $5 and get 3 months of League Pass, plus get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. Pass-through of per-wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. NBA League Pass auto-renews until canceled. Additional terms at dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. And these are currently the odds for different NBA awards and where some Sixers players and coaches rank among those odds. Tyrese Maxey, currently 6th in MVP voting. He's quite a bit of a long shot. The top 6 guys are all plus 500 or shorter. Maxey, plus 7,000, but is still 6th in those odds. VJ Edgecombe has been soaring up the Rookie of the Year odds, plus 120. Cooper Flagg's a favorite at plus 115, so it's a very close race there. Nick Nurse, 2nd, by Mitch Johnson, San Antonio Spurs coach, for Coach of the Year, plus 900. And Quentin Grimes, talked about him earlier. He's currently third for Sixth Man of the Year at plus 1,500. Of course, all odds and lines subject to change. Odds like these are constantly changing throughout the season. Big shout out to DraftKings, of course, for sponsoring today's show. So let's get to the latest on the Sixers injury front. Obviously, Paul George still dealing with that knee injury after the arthroscopic surgery he had in July. Jared McCain still recovering from the torn UCL in his thumb, though we got some positive news on him last week that he has been ramping up and having more contact in practice. And then Dominick Barlow against the Hornets 2 Saturdays ago suffered a laceration, a cut on his elbow. Hasn't played in over a week, and we'll get to him in a second. Let's start with Paul George and Jared McCain. Nick Nurse didn't have too much to say on these guys other than, and I think this kind of flew under the radar, that they did play Paul George and McCain in some live-ish, that's what Nick Nurse said, live-ish 3-on-3 practices over the weekend. And for Paul George, at the very least, he's been doing more actual full 5-on-5, especially over the last month. I'm surprised Paul George isn't back yet. Obviously, they don't want to rush him, given his age and his injury history. But good to see that, Paul George and McCain are still ramping up, playing in at least somewhat live activity. Obviously, McCain is also having overcome the knee injury as well, so a lot for him there. But it does seem like, if Paul George and McCain aren't back within the next couple of weeks, I'd be pretty surprised. They're both going to add quite a lot to this Sixers rotation, which has already been so good and so deep to start the year. But let's get to Barlow. This is where we got a real update from Nick Nurse, and I'm just so confused on this injury because you hear elbow laceration, right? Again, suffered that 2 Saturdays ago against the Hornets. You don't think it's going to be a very long-term injury. Just a gash, maybe get some stitches if it's really, really bad, and get suited up pretty soon, right? But again, it's been a few games since we've seen him now, and he's a valuable piece of this team, and the Nick Nurse update didn't really have me all that confident on what we're hearing here on Barlow. So, asked if he's ready to return, Nick Nurse said no. I think there's an update coming here early this week, but it's been kind of difficult. It's nothing super serious, but it's just been a little bit longer or more difficult than we maybe initially thought this thing to get healed up. This cut healed up right on his elbow. He's got to wear the straight kind of brace because it's right where it bends and all this stuff. Nothing super major, just needs to get that thing healed up and get him going. I think they'll give us an update here early this week. He's wearing a brace for a cut on his elbow? I don't understand. Sixers, obviously, this type of thing always happens to them where you suffer an injury and then the player's out for a whole lot longer than you'd expect. After the initial injury, they said, yeah, he'll probably miss 2 games, has to get some stitches for that laceration, then he'll be back. They haven't gone into detail about the injury or why this brace is required on his elbow. Hopefully he's back sooner rather than later because I love what Dominick Barlow showed in the game and a half he played, especially in the opener against Boston. And then in that last game against Boston on Halloween on Friday, I think you really saw the Sixers miss a player like Barlow. And, crazy, I'm talking about it. It's a two-way player, but yes, the Sixers do really need him. Against Boston, the Sixers got out-rebounded. The Sixers got out-hustled. It was bad, right? And so somebody like Barlow can come in and he doesn't really have to do a whole lot on offense. He just rebounds the basketball. He plays with energy, with effort, always 110%, right? And the Sixers obviously got down big again in that game against Boston, down nearly 30 points as they continue to just go down early in these games. They did storm back to their credit, but they really could have used him out there. Hopefully he's back sooner rather than later. Nick Nurse did say, as we mentioned, that we should get an update early on this week. So maybe later today on this Monday, maybe on Tuesday, we'll get an update. Again, Sixers play back-to-back against the Bulls Tuesday, Cavs Wednesday. Doubt he plays either of those at this point, but maybe Saturday, Sunday, Sixers have another back-to-back. He'll be back, but of course, we'll keep you guys updated if anything does come out about Barlow or the other Sixers injuries that we got going on with McCain and Paul George. All right, that'll do it for today's show. If you're still hanging out, if you're still watching, that means you're a real one. So go down in the comment section, type a real one. Of course, I'll be down there responding to all the comments. Don't forget to hit that sub button, and we'll catch you tomorrow with another video right here on 76ers Now.